For a podcast to help you transform your physical and mental, one that'll shoot you straight between the eyes with truth and no BS, helping you have the right mindset to accomplish things, the iron will and fortitude to follow through with what you say you're going to do. No excuses. Mark owns martial arts schools, and after 30 years, he has some real insight for real talk. Real life, real conversations, motivational, fitness, self-defense, weight loss, live from the Great 1-8. This is Real Talk with Mark Cox.
All right. Good morning and good afternoon out in the East. Where you at, Amanda? Where you from?
I'm in the Midwest. I'm in Minnesota.
Oh my! Now I didn't know that. That's something we talk about. You know, that's where my family lives. My mom is from Minnesota.
Whereabouts?
Oh, what's the little town called that she's like? It's not Minneapolis. It's a small little town by there. Oh, gosh, I haven't been there. Haven't been to Minnesota since I was 18 years old, so long ago. But that's where her brother and everything lives. Her dad is from Minnesota, and so my whole family is from that side. When I was 18 years old, I got to see what it's like to live a summer in Minnesota doing farm work. And I lifted weights and a lot of stuff when I was 18, so I was a pretty strong kid anyway. But let me tell you something. Farm strong's a whole different animal than weightlifting strong. Because when I was there, here's what we did. One couple days is we had to go hay baling. Mm-hmm. And so these bales come up and they're about 100 pounds and you're humping them up and right. And I'm able to, about halfway through the day, I'm like, man, what the heck? And these country boys are slinging this stuff like it ain't nothing. Right. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Then one day we had to go butcher chickens. We butchered 150 of them at a farm. So I got the real farm life when I was 18.
Sounds like it.
So
that's not where I'm originally from, though. I actually grew up on the East Coast, North Carolina. But my husband was in the Marine Corps. He was stationed out there, so in Virginia. So we met towards the last couple years of college, and I graduated. We moved to Iowa. So that is where he's from. So I married a farm boy. I know about that strength.
Let me tell you, man, I've got nothing but respect for those people that work that farm life. And it's like what you see in the movies, like where, when you go at lunchtime, there's this spread of food, because if you don't eat, you ain't getting the second half of the day down. I'm telling you. It was just brutal. So, well, man, I'm glad we got to finally hook up. I know we talked about it a couple of times, so I'm glad you're here. So I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself. Welcome to the Beyond the Mat podcast. We'll talk a little bit about martial arts too, and kind of what you do. Warrior, the Women of Armor. Sounds just awesome. And we've got nothing but powerhouse women here at the studio, so I think that's something that's going to be fun to talk about. So go ahead and I want you to introduce yourself and what you do, and we're going to get right into some good talk.
Awesome. Well, I'm Amanda Ewers, and like I said, I'm here in Minnesota. I'm a 2-time award-winning speaker and author. I'm a professional educator, so I love teaching. That is the thing that just fills me up. I love teaching, whether it's fitness, it's in the classroom with middle schoolers. That's my specialty. I love working with the kids. And so I've taken a lot of my experience and I've built programs, created journals and things like that. And yeah, so I really enjoy the coaching community and getting in with groups of people. I've really just enjoyed having that opportunity.
Well, that's good. So are you a full-time teacher? Is that with middle schoolers?
Well, what I do, I'm a licensed teacher, but I do long-term subbing. So that gives me variety. I'm not stuck in one classroom. I call them pockets of sunshine. So I'm able to go and spend time with this group of kids, and then I get the opportunity to go work with another group of kids, and I get to learn new things as I go. So this year I've worked with English language learners, so people that are new to our country. I've been able to help transition them into middle school and get them to learn the language. I'll do some science and some media literacy at some point this year as well. So I kind of like having the flexibility, and then I can take some time off and travel speaking and things like that. So it's been a pretty cool gig.
That's good. That's good. My daughter-in-law also is a teacher. She's a school teacher also. So she's an elementary teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And have you always done middle school? How do you like that age group?
I like it. And it probably helps that I have a middle schooler at home, or I don't know, I'm still tossed up whether that's beneficial or not, because I don't get away from it. I'm with a middle schooler all day long. But I think that age is so much more impressionable, and they're really trying to discover who they are. And I just feel like you have an opportunity to really create an impact at that age. So it is a special place for me, for sure.
That's good. I think that as a martial arts instructor too, I have different, we've got little 3-year-olds all the way up, through middle school. And then you do see the challenges each of them have. Bullying is so prevalent in schools right now. It's just so irritating,
Mm-hmm.
It even happened to my own children. So,
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know, just so it's really aggravating that we can't seem to get a grip on that,
And having the conversations with parents, I think it creates its own dynamic. We had a situation where a brother had come in, and I think he had been so influenced in his own life that it was almost carrying over into his younger brother. And I think it was hindering his brother from being able to just form relationships, because it was the little stuff. And not to discount the little stuff, but if you can't handle some of the little stuff, the big stuff it'll crush you. And I think we have to be careful not to carry over our own experiences, because that was a different time.
Mm-hmm.
And the challenges that kids are faced with today is completely different. I mean, everything's in their face nonstop. And we were sheltered a little bit from that because we just didn't have the influence of social media like these kids do. So it's a different dynamic for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And I guess you guys as teachers, I talk to my daughter-in-law about that quite often. It's just definitely is a different animal altogether, because we just didn't have the social media. I've told my kids I was glad I didn't have social media, because there's a lot less stress without it. You know what I mean? We get done with school and we play some sports, ride bikes. And I said we used encyclopedias for our reports. So there's just a different altogether dynamic that you guys have. It's a curse and a blessing at the same time. What they have, the ability to how much smarter they can be because of it, but at the same time, just and it's not just kids either, man. I see it in the adults as a martial arts instructor. I see the same thing as adults. It's kind of, it's a little disheartening for that way too.
Yeah.
Just being able, not being able. That's why I said, I think what you have here, women of armor, just trying to know how to put armor on and how to navigate and I tell everybody my story. I was bullied pretty profusely. Always kind of a bigger guy, and then I started lifting weights when I was a young guy, 12, 13 years old. So I was bigger than everybody. But in school wise, man, it was just brutal. And I remember just having a snapping point, and then that's when things change. But on the same token, you can almost be a borderline bully yourself once you're bullied. Once you get empowered and you stick up for yourself and you see that things work, it can almost flip script and become one itself. I've seen the same thing in our schools when you get overconfident, and then you go and start flipping the other side just because you have some power, in mindset. So that there's just a dynamic of that. So let's talk about let's talk about your book first, okay? Because you know we have that in common. You know, you've wrote, and how many books have you written?
Well, my first anthology is coming out. It is actually being released in the next few hours. So that is an anthology, Warrior Women and Life Lessons, turning life lessons into legacy. So it's a compilation of 13 women sharing their stories of things that they've experienced in life and how they've been able to overcome them and turn that story into a legacy. A lot of times we don't know the stories of our grandparents. That's not written anywhere. And so what is that thing that we want to leave behind and show that, in a sense, that we've made a mark, that you know what, yes, I live this, but this is what I'm leaving behind. And so my contribution was a letter to my daughter. I felt that to bring together warrior women and to be able to share that, I did it in a way that told my story, but through the lens of being healed and not through hurt. And so it was I can't even explain it. As an English teacher, I still can't explain the style of writing that I did, but it was very unique. And I'm looking forward to seeing the many lives that it touches, because it'll touch women in various stages of motherhood, or maybe just a woman that's going through an abusive relationship, or having some issues trying to process childhood trauma. There's stories in there that will apply to women in various different areas of their life. So I'm really excited to just share that and to see the impact that it creates. The stories in there are incredible. And the women that I've met along the way are just, to see a woman go through the pain, the hurt, the abuse, the trials and tribulations, and to come out and say, this is me, and I'm proud of who I am today, and I'm okay with putting this out there. There's just an amazing amount of bravery that comes with that. So I'm so incredibly honored to be a part of that compilation, for sure.
So who's the anthology? Who started off the anthology?
Desiree Cruz.
Desiree Cruz. Okay.
Yeah,
good lady.
The second.
Good lady.
The series 2. So the first series, Nikki Cuesta, which is how I met her. And I think that was we did a business mindset event together. And so that is how I had met Nikki, and that's how I was able to meet you. So, doing these projects, you're able to meet people along the way and have opportunities to, connect and to find out you're from, have family from Minnesota. It's such a small world, Yeah,
it's a very small world. very, very small world. Yes, the Minnesota. Now, is it cold out there right now? You guys got snow already?
I mean, cold.
Well, it can be 60. It could be 60 here, and you got people like, oh my gosh, we got to turn the heater on. So
yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
Everybody from that particular, they say that all the time. What do you mean by cold?
It's 40 and cloudy, and I was outside in just long sleeves this morning, so it's not that cold yet.
Yes. Cool. See, California would have big perk of jackets on today. Yeah. If it was 40, trust me. They're just not used to that kind of stuff. No, that's the beauty of California. Then again, you can snow ski and surf all in the same day.
There's that.
So, for sure. Well, your anthology comes out today. So, first of all, where are you going to be able to pick that up at? Is that going to be out on? Do you have a private website for that, or did you put it on Amazon, or what you guys decide to do?
Yeah. So, in order to get a signed copy from myself, it's on my website, and then it will be available on Amazon as well. Yeah. So let me encourage everybody, because I'm an author myself. So anybody if you're going to listen on the replay and stuff like this, because we'll get hundreds, if not 1,000 people listening after, on the replays on this. Mm-hmm.
if from an author to an author, if you can, I will have her website also in notes, and when it goes on audio also, I'll have this on my audio podcast also. So when you go to my website or the audio part, all of her bio and stuff will be there. Mm-hmm. And I'll go in and edit YouTube also to make sure we have it. But listen, if you can buy from the author themselves, you are really supporting the authors, just those that are listening to this podcast. Because us as authors, you'd be surprised on how much Amazon takes.
Oh, yeah.
And then Amazon will not pay you until you have a certain amount of money that you've accumulated from your book sales. So as easy as it is, if I don't know if they're going to try and go bestseller, but even the algorithm of a bestseller is a book that, you can get a bestseller going through the algorithm on a digital copy of your book, and you can go bestseller from that. But even if you do that for the author, which is great because it helps them, boost their algorithm, buy your physical copies from the straightly from the author. Not only will you get an autographed copy, but you get to support the author 100%. They get to get 100% of the proceeds of the money that they've put out for these anthologies, because there is a cost involved. I was new to this whole thing when I wrote my book. Man, I'm telling you, it was a process. When I first did it, I've been wanting to write a book for a long time. When I wrote my first book, I said, man, this is not as easy as I thought it would be. And the time that goes with it and your thought process on how to do all that. Mm-hmm. And I have a second book. I just haven't put it out there yet because trying to get through the first book was one thing. Now, I don't know if you're going to use this in your speeches, in Warrior Women. I think, first of all, I love watching how all these women kind of come together and they form these different groups. I often tell in my own school, as far as women go, I told them, I said, I missed out on training from some really good females because of my mindset back when I was a young man, right? I just wouldn't. In my 20s when I started, I remember being in martial arts class, and I'm like, I just would only take from my instructor. I just wouldn't, there's some really good women, female black belts, and I just wouldn't take from them. And I tell this story all the time when I do instructor training for females. And I said, it's hard for a female to get in front of a martial arts class and get some alpha males in there that are type A and get their attention that they're going to want to take from you. And I was one of those, right? And I missed out on some really good training because of it. Because I just thought, martial arts is about fighting, man. I'll kick the shit. I'm thinking, what my mindset was so closed off and my ego was so engaged back in the day that I missed out. Now, some of these females are some of the my greatest friends I've ever had at this point. And watch how they have to overcome to be able to become good teachers. It's a process. Mm-hmm. So it's awesome to see you guys come together. And because I've got the thing about, as I've evolved in the martial arts and I've extended my knowledge and then I get to give my students the knowledge that I have, man, I've got some women that'll kick your ass. I'm not kidding. These alpha males, when they get choked out by somebody on the ground and they have it's a female and they're just like, they cannot understand for the life of them what's going on, is a powerful thing. So martial arts has been quite a powerful thing. Now, I believe, you trained in martial arts. Let's talk about that, about what you've done in this, and then we're going to get back to the teaching part of it.
Yeah. So it's actually a really funny story how this all happened. We had gotten invited to a birthday party, and we hadn't been living here that long. And so the kids were young and they were trying to make friends, and, the whole try it out for 6 weeks, and the kids had a blast. And of course, Mom, you should do it too. So that's how I got started. There was one person I kind of blamed for the longest time. I said, it's your fault I'm in this. But, we were really enjoying it. And I love that the kids were getting their stripes on their belts for doing little things around the house or doing the things that they were supposed to do at school. And I could just see the leadership that was being built. So we studied Taekwondo, and it was a leadership martial arts school. And so we were going through, and my daughter kind of got to a point where the physical challenge, she wasn't able to move past. Female instructor definitely was really tough on her, and my daughter just wasn't able to push through. And my son, he's just like, I'm ready to do something else. But see, I was committed, and for a long time, I wasn't sure what was driving me, what was really pulling me to be so committed to this. And my husband would joke, and he's like, well, it's that whole, was it the gamblers thing where you're already this invested, you can't quit now? And I'm like, no, I think there's more to it. I'm the teacher. I'm always the teacher. But in this particular thing, I got to be the student. I got to study. I got to practice. Somebody else was helping me refine my skills to give me something that I didn't innately know already. Like, this was something that was taking me outside of my comfort zone. And, nobody looks at you and assumes that you're a black belt. And that's not something that you go around sharing, right? You just don't do that. But inside, it was really changing me. And so I stuck with it. And then COVID hit when I was going through my last year of training. I can't tell you how many days I wanted to quit, because I missed being able to, well, put people on the floor, for one, to, in that time, you really needed to hit a bag. You really needed to throw some kicks and, to be on the mat. There's something about that really gets you out of your head. And instead, I'm confined to my four walls, still putting on my uniform every day and still checking in with my instructor and still doing the videos and marking the floor of where my form's supposed to hit. And I'm sitting here going, this is the one thing that gets to be consistent by choice.
True.
And I think for the first time, it gave me that sense of empowerment that I truly got to choose. I could have quit. The kids quit. I could have been done. I could have said, well, I just want my black belt. I'm not going to do anything else after it. But to see the pride that my kids had every single day, that I would still show up to class at 5:00 on Zoom, to still bow in, to still throw on my uniform, make sure it's pressed, tighten my belt appropriately, like doing the things as if I was still going to class. I was setting that example for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And all the time, I was helping my mental health through this whole COVID situation. So that was really the overall journey. And I kind of look back and I'm going, I'm really proud of myself.
True.
And it's, to look up there and say, man, I did that through a pandemic and I didn't quit. I was a grown-up in a group of kids.
Yeah.
And I didn't quit.
Excellent. Now, did you have to do Zoom classes to go through this, or were they meeting?
We did a lot of Zoom, and then we were able to do like private lessons and things like that. I got to tell you, there was one time, it was towards the end, and being at home, it's just kind of hard to do the right marks and stuff. And my instructor, he would say, this, you need to get out of your head. You need to get out of your head all the time. He'd always tell me that. You know this. Get out of your head.
Yes.
So he had me come in for a private lesson, and he put a blindfold on me. And he told me to count to 100 and do my form. So while I'm doing my form, I'm counting to 100 with a blindfold on. And I didn't miss a beat.
Good instructor.
He's like, see, you know it.
Good instructor. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. It was awesome.
That's awesome. Awesome story as well. So where are you at with it today? Do you teach it all, or do you train still, or where are we at?
No, there's kind of been some changes at the school itself. A lot of the people that I did train with have kind of moved away. So currently, no, I still keep in touch with the people there. I still keep in touch with the owner. And I actually messaged him a few weeks ago. I said, I missed the mat. I think I need to come back. And he's like, you're always welcome, and there's still times where, I'll be at home and I'll still work on my form and things like that. But, I'll spar with the kids every once in a while. And, but no, there was something really special and unique about just staying committed to it. And I don't know, it's just what I needed in that time of life. And to be able to look back and say, I did that. It does help. It helps in ways I really can't explain.
That's true. And people won't understand unless they've done it, and gone through the growth. I tell everybody thinks that black belt, being a black belt is intriguing to people. They think two things: either A, hey, you're extremely disciplined, or B, you can kick somebody's ass. I mean, that's immediately what comes out of everybody's mouth.
Right.
So it's just one of those things. The mental growth that comes from black belt, and it's so weird as I look back on it now. In the higher ranks I get, and I don't really speak about all these high ranks that I carry, but because, to be honest with you, I might be a high rank here, but on the jiu-jitsu mat, I'm just a purple belt, so I'm still getting tapped out. So it's just kind of a circle of life of where you're at. It's just such a learning process. It's so ingrained in me, part of me, just the mindset of becoming a martial artist anyway. People have to kind of experience it. And I wish that we'd have more of it in our schools.
Oh, for sure.
Because it would give a sense of respect back. They'd be surprised, and the right instructor can bring a lot of respect back to the hold kids accountable. Because when you come to my class, I'm one of those old school hard instructors. And they know that. They know how Mr. Cox is. When I step on the mat, everybody, it's just a different atmosphere. But I also know that I'm building these leaders that are going to be pushed. And I tell everybody this time, listen, you're going to be pushed to your limits on the outside of these walls. So you pushing through, whether it's fighting, whether it's, weathering a storm of a test because you're so anxious because you really didn't prepare well for it. And now you're crying in front of me because you didn't prepare, hoping that I feel bad for your insecurities and what you didn't do to prepare for the test today. And I said, so, there's in my arena, you still have the opportunity that you might retest. And failure is such a growth process. And I find that the parents of today, even from 10 years ago, parents, this one small 10-year generation of different parenting is a world of difference that I see in my school. The coddling, I saw a parent that did a red belt test, and her daughter did okay. It wasn't the best test, and she knows it because she's just overcommitted to other things and stuff like that. So that she's got too much on her plate. So don't push, don't push the thing. And she did okay. and she'd already had to wait a 6-month time frame from her last test. So this is an in-between test for her to come and practice so we can see if and evaluate where she's at.
Mm-hmm.
And she did okay. But after class, you just did so wonderful. It was the best thing that I've seen you do. And And I told Mom, don't, you can give her the praise and say, I'm really proud of you, how you got out there and you got after it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the areas that we need to work on to make you even a better warrior. This is where it needs to be. Not, give the best student award after it when you did mediocre stuff. I just can't stand it. You know what I mean? It's just such a butting of heads that it's tough. And now I've done the same thing. Now I've been a parent too. So all my kids have done martial arts, and I've been on the other side of it, watching my oldest boy that helps me run the school, especially, go through up the ranks. And he had the old school me anyway. He had to fight his dad and all kinds of stuff like that. I'm making I didn't care about making him cry. But he's a super tough kid today, but he's totally different than me. He's an alpha male on the mat, but he's not boisterous like me. He's kind of quiet, chill dude, so not me. And so I just told him, I'll call my son. I'm like, what are you doing, son? He goes, hey, Dad, I'm just chilling. I'm like, oh my gosh, just chilling. And what? And it's just so funny that we're so on some things we're super like each other, but on the same we're such polar opposites. It's funny, but I guess that's the beauty of martial arts in itself.
Mm-hmm.
What it is. Now, going through your martial arts, let's see if your martial arts took you out into some other stuff. So you said you got some awards for speaking. Let's talk about what that looks like about speaking. And then we'll talk about this, my experiences in speaking stuff too.
Yeah. So again, don't even know how I get myself in these situations, but somehow I got connected with the cruises and got on the phone and having a conversation. And Jesse had said, yeah, I do these speaking competitions. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I've never done anything like that. And I was like, I'm turning 40. Why not? Let's do it. And then here we go, getting in my head, and I start seeing all the promotional stuff. And so he's like, tell me 3 things that you're proud of that you've done in life, for your photo. And I was like, oh, right. Like I'm a black belt, and we'll throw that up there. That's cool. Right. And then, I've been married for almost 20 years. That's cool. And then, like I've been teaching for over a decade. Like those are really cool. I'm really proud of those things. Right. And then I start seeing international speaker and international author and podcast person and TV personality. And I'm going, I'm not like them.
Yeah.
I don't fit in. Like, what am I doing? And I remembered the blindfold. Whenever I doubt myself, I go back to that blindfold moment. Because I'm like, I've got everything I need already. Not knowing where it was going to come from or what that special skill was, but something what always takes me back to that blindfold moment. And so I'm like, all right, get out of your head. And so I show up and I was like, all right, this isn't a competition. This is just me getting up there and performing what it is that I know. I want to share my story with the people in the room. I've never done this before, right? So I get up there and I share this story about, my childhood. And I lost my sister when she was 26. She had AIDS, and, that was a pretty sad story. And so shared that. And then I had gotten a job offer to be a teacher. And so I did like this full circle moment, and I won first place. And I had to step back, and I'm like, wait a minute. So for a moment, I let myself think that just because I didn't have the same credentials as everyone else, like I wasn't an author yet, and I wasn't this, and I wasn't that, I was still proud of those
3 things in my life, and that was the question. I was proud that I had gone through the experience of a black belt. There's no one in my family that's ever done that. I'm the only one. No one's in my family has been married. I mean, my family tree is, I don't even know. It's like a forest, right? And so like the fact that I've been able to, have a healthy, long-standing relationship for this long, I'm proud of that. And to go to school and get my master's degree, like, again, I'm proud of that. So I owned who I was. And that was what helped me to own that moment. And I think we just forget to do that. We're so busy like looking around and seeing, well, this person does this, so I should be doing that too. If I'm sharing the stage, then I need to be doing all the things that all these other people are doing. No, you should be doing that if that's what brings you meaning and purpose. If you can contribute something by doing that, but don't just do it because everybody else is doing it. None of my friends were going to Taekwondo. Everybody that I knew quit, but I made friends with the people that were on my level, that were going in that direction. So speaking offered me an opportunity to really own who I was and understand that what I had within me was worth sharing with people. The skill set that I brought was something that I had been doing for years. I was a teacher. I was teaching group fitness classes. All of these skills for 7 years were grooming me to be able to take the stage. The moment you doubt yourself, that it changes the trajectory. You have to claim that you're a winner. You have to put in the reps. You have to put in the practice. Just like, doing my form, when I put on the blindfold, I knew what I was doing. When I got on the stage, I just said, this isn't a competition. I'm meant to be here. There's a reason why I said yes, and there's a reason why I took this crazy opportunity. And here I am. And I've had many opportunities, and it's been fun. It's amazing. And I get to tell a different story every time because that is just my lived experience. And depending on the group of people I'm in, they need to hear something different.
Was this a Jesse Cruz competition that you did, or is this other ones?
Yeah, so this was the Mike Story competition. So they do one domestic and then one international every year. So the next one's going to be, so the domestic one is in February, and then they usually, the international is September timeframe. And so it was in Canada this last time. And then it's going to be in Florida in February. So, yeah, I don't know that I'll compete again. I did compete in Canada, and I got most improved speaker. So, I said I was going to go win a trophy, and I did. So I've got a first place and a most improved. So I put those right by my black belt.
Well, I think that right. So we're back. Getting on stage is not something uncomfortable for me. I teach so much class, and that it's just not uncomfortable for me to get up on stage. But I will tell you that I am a super competitive dude. So I hated that there's any kind of competition involved, because I viewed it as, okay, you're not placing. Yet when you talk to the judges, here's what drove me crazy when I was doing these. I do them, but I'm not getting feedback. So I'm not knowing where's the line? Okay, what am I missing here? All right, how am I not formulating? And I've got some. and then of course the room is different, right? I remember the one, I'm like, man, I just picked the wrong subject for this particular room because everybody in the room is crying on everybody talking. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, goodness. And I'm like, do I talk about, I mean, I've got some pretty, tear dripping stuff, whether it's me carrying a baby's casket, to its grave because the parents are just so, distraught that they couldn't do it, or my student that got killed by a drunk driver on my phone call, right? On him to come, hey, can you come teach class for me tonight? And that's the night that somebody ended his life because they were drunk driving. Mm-hmm. So I had these powerful stuff to talk about, and I'm like, well, I mean, everybody in the room's crying, so let's see if I can't get him to another level. Mm-hmm. And so we get, and of course we got some laughs, and I'm all animated and I'm all jacked up, and then afterwards, it was another, some heartbreaking stories, man. I don't know. I said, how do you beat that? How do you beat the mom that lost a baby to, how do you beat that lost their baby to a small infant to a cancer, right? I'm like, how do you even talk after that? Okay. After that kind of a thing. So I did all these, and I'm like, I'm talking to the judges. I said, give me some feedback on how to make this better, on how to pull all this in. And a couple of them did. And so it just pissed me off. I was so mad. I'm like, because I can't stand losing. I mean, I'd rather, I hate losing more than I like winning. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. This is how much I hate it. And so I hated these competitions that have these trophies attached to it, because I go in this competition mode, like I'm going to smoke everybody in the room. And because that's the kind of competitor I was, man. I was a world champion, man, for a long time, 4 or 5 years. And I had the mindset of one, and I just couldn't get past this. I had great speeches and everybody enjoyed them. And I've even gotten called back. And if I'm breaking bricks and doing crazy stuff on stage, that's what I'm remembered for, right? Oh my gosh, Mr. Cox broke all these freaking bricks on stage. I've never seen anything like it. And so I went back and evaluated after my last one, and I said, man, I know I delivered on there. Where did I fail? So I went after Toastmasters, a speaker, so you get into this Toastmasters group and you start working on speaking skills. Then, now I've been doing that for over a year now, and I have excelled in that, in that. And so I said, because I'm learning on how to formulate a speech, how to do everything that comes with a speech, there's a lot. I'm like, wow, this is why I'm not winning, because I'm not really kind of pulling it all together, having, I saw some holes in my game. I can get everybody animated and jacked up like I do in class, but I saw the holes in my game. And so now I'm shooting for the international competition in Toastmasters, where the big boys go. And I think I have a really good shot at doing that. So, because I keep formulating, I have people that give me real feedback, like, hey, you're, stop waving your hands around a certain way, or if you have a different body language here, it's going to be better. Formulate your sentences, have an idea here, and here. And I was really kind of I've been getting great coaching in Toastmasters. And it's not $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, or whatever we spend to go talk, for me to really learn. So I get that, what it is, what that is. Now, I've had Jesse Cruz on my show.
Yeah.
On Beyond the Mat. And I enjoy him too. But even his story, right? I'm like, how do you get in a room and beat his story? His own story. Or his wife. I'm like, these are some powerful stuff. And I had to get to the same mindset you had. If I did not get out of the competition mindset, I would lose it in these things. So I finally started on some of the speaking, and I said, you know what? I just don't care about the trophy. I said, I'm going to go speak on these things that in my life that I know that other people have had this stress that I'm going to do. And then that's what I'm going to do. So I think that's powerful, Amanda, that you talk about that on this mindset of, well, first of all, you're probably thinking like, right, authors, international, but doesn't that have the same flavor of, that's why you never hear me say I'm an 8th degree black belt or anything, because it sounds so far-fetched that I don't even like saying it, right? And I don't like some of the titles that come with these high ranks, the Grand Master or whatever. I can't stand it, right? I can't stand it. Even when they say it, I said, you're not calling me Grand Master. You can call me GM if you want to call me that. If we're going to keep the title, because I have to still respect my instructor. But I said, we're just not doing those kind of titles. I can't stand it. And I can't stand meeting a martial artist that tells me their title. Well, good afternoon. My name is Grandmaster so-and-so. I'm like, man, shut up, bro. Just shut up, dude. I just so, I tell everybody, I said, you want to know what that title means? That means, A, I have perseverance. I didn't quit, and I'm old. That's what it means. Okay. So
you had to put that out there.
Right. I said, so you're not, if you're 18 and you're calling yourself Grandmaster, you have missed the boat. Okay. That is not even close to what it is at all. And so I tell everybody all the time, I said, don't get wowed because I'm an 8th degree black belt. I don't have magical skills. Trust me. I'm not one of these McDojos that can knock people out from across the room. Because I said, if I could change somebody from across the room, it wouldn't be to knock them out. It would be to lift them up, not knock them down. If I had those magical powers. So this is just one of those things. I was glad to hear you talk about your experiences on the stage, because I've had these experiences, and I think it's a good analogy that you have. Have you talked about that story on stage? Did you talk about the blindfold? Because that's such a good speech.
No, I probably should. I think that's so there is an opportunity coming up that I think I'm probably gonna use it.
Because I'm listening to your story and I'm like, some of the speeches that we have, Amanda, I think that, because I try and change every time I have, but there's some that you have that are constant.
Yeah.
And I think the blindfold is a really good. There's so many analogies that go with what you're talking about. Such a good instructor doing that. Because I remember doing certain things like that too, like tying your hands up, doing your forms with your eyes closed, all that, doing your forms like you're in water, slowing everything down, because anything you do slow, you do 10 times worse fast. This is how you break down, just good instructor stuff that he's done with you, stuff that, somebody that's been wise, that's been around for a minute, that to help you get you out of your own head. Because it's true what he's telling you. You're in. I say this probably on a daily basis. Why are you in your own head? Why are you making this more complicated? It's not as complicated as you're putting it out to be. But I get in my own head too on the
you
jiu-jitsu
mat. You get up there, and it's like, protect yourself. And it's one of those things. It's like, this is the most expensive investment. If you have to do any facial reconstruction, like, that is the most expensive investment. So protect your face. Like,
yeah, I've been hit in the face several times. I say, well, man, my face isn't quite as handsome as it used to be. I got a radio face now.
But I want to pick up on something that you said, because you're talking about being 8th degree and having like all these things, and it took me a while to just say, 2-time award winning. And for me to say award winning was something that but I had to own it. Because the thing is, there's one thing to be humble. There's one thing to be cocky. You have to be able to kind of find yourself somewhere in the middle to accept and acknowledge and appreciate who you are and like how far you've come on your journey. And, to be 8th degree, that's nothing to, shy away at. But like you said, that's what that really says is I've been consistent with my practice. I've not given up. I've continued to grow. And so that's kind of a perfect time for me to share what I've been working on recently is consistency objective. Because for me, I said, there's a lot of things that I do pretty consistently, but they're not the right things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're writing a book, or you're preparing for a speech, or you're on a weight loss journey, or preparing for a competition, there are a group of things that you need to be doing on a daily basis or several times a week in order to achieve the goal that you've set out to do. And I know I was listening to one of your previous podcasts and about New Year and setting the goal and being able to really hone in on the goal that you've established, because you have to have a goal. You have to have something that you're working towards. And I think it's really helpful to, how do you set goals? Like, what does that look like for you when you're going through and you're saying, this is just the next step, or being really specific in what those steps are to get there? And so for me, it was like, well, this is the objective. This is where I'm going. This is what I want to happen. But, just like being a black belt, well, I've got to do the yellow belt, the orange belt, the purple belt, the red belt, right? Like, I have to do all of these things first. Mm-hmm. And those are measurable pieces in order to get here, because you can't just go here. You got to do some stuff along the way. And so I've tried to figure out, how do I take this really huge, massive goal and chunk it out, and so that I have consistent pieces that I'm working towards. And really going back to the black belt and going through that whole experience, that has really just helped shape my mindset of things aren't just given to you. And it's not like you can go out there and just do something. Maybe I can now, but I've had to do some things to get there. So like my daughter this morning, she's walking out the door, and I said, well, I changed gears today. And so I'm going to do this instead. And she's like, how are you going to do that in 3 hours? And I was like, because I'm that good. But I wasn't meaning that in a cocky way. I just mean, I've practiced doing this activity for so long that now I can just sit down and knock it out in 3 hours. But I didn't just decide in 3 hours, I'm just going to do this and it's going to be worthwhile. No, I've spent money, I've spent time, and I've practiced, so that now if I sit down for 3 hours, what I'm going to produce is quality. And so the consistency objective is, it's a journal that I created, and it goes along with sharing how you set that goal. What is that goal? What are the things that you need to do? If you do these 5 things every day, then you can say you've won the day. Otherwise, guess what? You're taking an L, and nobody likes to take an L. And it's been well received. That'll also be on my website. So that'll be something for people that are looking for that New Year rejuvenation, or maybe they're already, I'm not one of those New Year's people. Like, I feel like we should be working towards something regardless of what time of the year it is, but let's just lean in. People are setting New Year's goals. I'd rather you set a goal at some point. But what are those consistent habits we need to be doing that are going to move you in the right direction? And so I hope to bring in some of that black belt mentality, if you will, to really help people push into being consistent with the right things.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yes, that's good. That's good. So you're saying you have that on your website. It's going to be, is it a help for how to journal and how to set goals? Is that what you're looking at for that? Okay.
So it's just it's a journal, and it's got basically it kind of writes out what you put it in. This is my objective. These are the things I need to do to win the day. And then I'll have QR codes in there that'll take you to a quick little video with directions on, how to do it, some inspiration, little tidbits here and there for when maybe you're feeling like a little stuck. So it's a journal with enhancements. It's an enhanced journal. I'll call it that. So
that's good. That's good. That's unique. Having something that, a QR code where you can pop off to, either having a video of what you need to, to dive deeper into it. Excellent. I agree with you too. I'm not a New Year. As a matter of fact, I hate the New Year because the gym sucks at the New Year. Okay. It is so irritating when you go. I'm like, January. I mean, all you people are not going to be here in February. So, it is super. I hate January at the gym. I'm so glad that I have such a nice home gym setup that I don't have to even go half the time. Right. I've even bought myself my own sauna. I have one of those red lean sauna, and I just bought one of those portable, steam ones too, because that's really what I like at the gym. Is some of the gyms have these nice steam rooms, and I really like sitting in the steam rooms. But I cannot stand every GoPro, iPhone being filmed. You're walking, you can't even walk past the dumbbell rack without going past 3 or 4 people filming themselves. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh, don't get me started. I know.
It's so just, but I tell, I think I know what I do talk about that. I mean, what are you doing to win today? You're worrying about January. What's happening today? What are you doing today to set yourself up for January? If that's when you're really going to start, what habits are you breaking today? Are you just doing more and more bad habits? And I tell everybody, some people may or may not know, I've told the story before, but back in 2019 and stuff, when I was not in a healthy place, I had some blood clots. I'm lucky I'm still alive. This kind of set the trajectory of me to get on a better health kick. And I had such a bad knee that I had started gaining weight, and I was at my worst in 2019. And when I saw a picture of myself at my son's wedding, I was like, I was like, wow, what is going on? And that's when I made a serious change, and I had lost like 110 pounds right when I did it. And I tell everybody, I did 0 cheat days. And I really don't do cheat days today either. There's certain things I gave up. I gave up sugar and some other stuff that I've completely given up, where I just don't eat it anymore. And when I did that, I told everybody I didn't have cheat days, because let me tell you something, cheat hours turn into cheat 24 hours, and cheat days turn into cheat weeks, and cheat weeks turn into cheat months, and cheat months turn into cheat years. And then all of a sudden in January, you're having a new year, and you've gained pounds. You've gained a bunch of weight instead of done anything, or even maintain your weight because of a cheat day. Now, it doesn't mean, this is just my journey. And I tell everybody that. I said, I didn't have cheat days. I just didn't tell myself I can do things. Now, if you're going to eat, you're going to eat. I wouldn't call it cheat days, because it's going to be a mindset shift. And you got to have a mind shift of a warrior's mindset is not that of, or a martial artist mindset. I say this all the time. It's not about, the tap out is about, thank you for showing me my weakness. Now let me work on not that happening to me again. Not like, oh, I'm a loser and, I suck and everything else. It's like, wow. I mean, I appreciate you showing me my weakness, and now I know what I got to work on. Let's see if next time you can't tap me with that again, and see if I've grown from the process. And if, for an analogy, as far as martial arts goes. So I think it's 100%. I think your journaling thing is awesome. I think that anybody that's listening to the show, if you guys have it, I'll make sure that this is on, because I think everybody has a different way of doing things. But I will say, if you can physically write something down, and it wasn't easy for me to do this. There are days that other days I could journal things in and I did really, really well. Other days, it wasn't so well. Now, when I went through 75 Hard and you start going through the next Live Hard program and you're doing the next series of it where you have to have tasks on hand, then it forced me to write some tasks down. And then I find out, wow, is this really important, or is this important? What the heck is important? This is garbage. And how to not let people steal time. Not that, especially for an entrepreneur, right? It's really easy for people to steal an hour of our time because they come in, we don't really have a 9 to 5. We're not clocking in. And they're like, all of a sudden they want to talk for 45 minutes and then bam, 45 minutes is out. Now, okay, my task is off now. What do I got to do? set boundaries, how to set times, saying, hey, I'm not available from these hours, stuff like that. So I think that's powerful. I think that what you're doing, Amanda, is great. You know, it's another strong female martial artist getting after it, a teacher, and you are correct on that. I just want to end with our time together on something that you did say. Owning what you have. I've always felt that I don't talk a lot about my world championships and all that kind of stuff because, to be honest with you, when people come and take lessons from me, it's not my world championship they're looking for. It's my concern for them, and can I get them to address what they want. Mm-hmm. And those awards were way back in the day in the 90s and stuff like that. And and I only kept, out of the hundreds of trophies, I probably have a handful of ones that are super memorable to me. Mm-hmm. And a couple of them is when I lost, because those are the biggest memories, and because I made some mistakes mentally. And so I have a few of these in my office of the times that but nobody really cares, because that trophy has nothing to do with how I'm projecting into your life today. Right. And so I'd suppress it back, and I wouldn't really say what it. And when I was watching, I've watched Jesse Cruz. I've watched Daniel Gomez, Jose Escobar, some of these guys. And they put their resume out there. And I used to not do that because I felt like I feel like I'm bragging of some sorts. There's no humility to it. But then again, if I want to get my message across, you got to see where I came from and where I'm at, and say, hey, I don't say all this to say this, but listen, this 8th degree is not a magic, but I'm telling you this, I didn't quit. I don't sit next to my instructor. I'm not my instructor's highest rank because I'm the most awesome. I'm the highest rank because I've been here the most, and I sit on the right side of my instructor. I'm the highest rank in our whole system because I didn't quit, and I carry on his legacy. And I said, how do you own martial arts? I'm a martial artist that owns property. I've taken what I've done here so that I can have a life over here. Have you done that? Have you used your gifts in order so that you can project? And, this is why I tell other studio owners, man, I want studio owners are hard. It's a hard life to have a school. It's not an easy life. Mm-hmm. So you got to use your tools. And that's true for everybody, right? It's not an easy life being a speaker. It's not an easy life doing any of that stuff. It looks easy, but nobody knows the grind that you've done underneath it all. Nobody does. 100%. All they see is where you're at. And did anybody want to talk to me when I opened up my school in 1990? Nah. No. What I heard was, you're not going to make it. You're just going to play karate and do all that. Now,
watch me.
Right now, you project. I'm doing it for 40 years.
Right.
And people think that I have the life I have now. They don't see the 20 years of just me cleaning pools while I'm teaching class at night, or whatever I had to do to keep things going in order to fulfill this dream and get it. But people don't really care about you until you have some kind of success for you. So, Amanda, one thing you did say is to own your success, because if you want other people to listen to your story or to have your coaching, they got to hear where you came from, and they got to hear some of the stuff that you did. So, I just think that was powerful. I think that's a great, powerful thing that you talked about right there. Strong stuff today. Amanda, I've enjoyed this hour with you. So I want to give you the last words, though. So I'm going to have you take it away, and you got some words for the audience to what they can say and where they can find you, and then we'll go about.
Of course, I'm just going to go back to saying you got to be consistent with the things that are going to move you forward. And people do want to hear your story. They want to hear where you've come from, because that's how people connect with you. It's okay to share your accomplishments, but also share the stuff that you had to go through to get there, because that's what's going to bring people in. And it doesn't happen overnight. There's how many years and years and years until people finally make it. And now you have their attention. Well, guess what? There's still somebody that needs to hear that they were cleaning because they're cleaning the pools. They're the custodian, that hates their job, but they really want to be a music artist, right? So they're practicing while they're cleaning. All of that practice is going to bring them. I didn't know 7 years of teaching on a yoga mat was going to bring me a first place speaking award, but it did. And I'm proud of it. And I'm okay with sharing. I'm an award-winning speaker, right? But I put in the time. So be consistent with the things that's going to bring you forward. You can find me at amandaewers.com. All of my information is there to connect with me. I'm more than happy to hop on a call. If you want to chat about anything, my books will be on there. So yeah, feel free to reach out and connect. I'm on all the social media platforms, so you can find me there, ALK0211.
Excellent. So I'll have all that. Also, all the viewers that are listening on Hit Replay, if you want to, if you watch the video, do us a favor, put #replay so we know that you kind of listen to us. This will also be on the audio platform. I'll have it out ready to go for you, Amanda. In probably by end of day, it'll be ready to go. You're welcome to share the show that you guys have. Listen, for anybody else is out there that you're doing this, here's how podcasters, you can help out a small podcast like myself. If you guys go, it's not about how many people download things. It's about how many subscribers you can get. So if you can just hit a little subscribe button either on the YouTube channel that we have here or the podcast, you can go to Spotify or whatever, and you can find Beyond the Mat with Mark Cox on the podcast. If you can just hit subscribe on that, that really helps us out. And anybody here, and man, of your friends here, and they can just hit a little share button. It makes the algorithm go out, helps you, helps the show. And I'd appreciate it, man. I had a great hour with you. Look forward to some more talks. We'll be together again. All right. Have a blessed day, man. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Real Talk with Mark Cox. Real life, real topics, real conversation. We're passionate about motivation, fitness, self-defense, weight loss, and coming at it from a real angle. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. And we hope you had fun. We know we did. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit us up on Instagram and Facebook at Mark Cox 100. Make sure to subscribe